Hi, everybody. Today's lesson will be about a continuation or extension of our use of y equals mx plus b systems. Specifically to answer this question, not only do we find when is something equal to something else, but then which would be better and when. Let's jump right into example 1 to see how this is going to work. Wendy is starting a catering business and is attempting to figure out who she should be using to transport the food to different locations. She has found 2 trucking companies that are willing to make sure her food arrives intact. Now, I'm just going to pause my reading. As soon as I see here 2 trucking companies, I'm going to get 2 highlighters out because I know I'm going to be looking for 2 separate companies. So pause here for a moment if you need to go get 2 highlighters or a highlighter and underline. Here's my first company. Peter's Pickup charges 40 cents per mile and charges a flat fee of $68. Helen's Haulers charges 65 cents per mile and charges a flat fee of $23. Define your variables. Now, traditionally in our situations, there's usually a question right here that we underline and we say, based on that question, what's it like? Well, the question doesn't actually come up till part C. So how do we figure out how we're going to define our variables? Well, I clearly see an indication of a rate and an initial value. A rate and an initial value. So right away, I actually do know that this is a y equals mx plus b system just from that language. And that's something that with time, I hope we become even more familiar with. So to know how to define x, I look for keywords per each, or every. So when I read this, I see per mile. So once you find per each or every, x equals the number of whatever you found. So for example, here, per mile. So x will be number of miles. With y equals mx plus b systems, y is always a total of some kind. In this case, total cost, because this is all about paying trucking companies to transport food. Total cost. So now we have a refresher on how to define x and how to define y. We have our variables. X is miles, y is cost. Now we're told to write a system of equations to model the above situation. It's really helpful for us to actually write the names of the 2 companies we're dealing with. So for example, I know that I will have one equation about Peter's company, and my second equation will be about Helen's company. So Peter, we highlighted in yellow, and Helen was blue. So what do you know about Peter? Well, it says for Peter, charges 40 cents per mile. So right away, I know that will be my mx part. So 0.4x, 40 cents per mile, plus a flat rate fee of $68. Helen, her company charges 65 cents per mile, 0.65x, plus 23. Flat fee of 23. We have our system, and now we're ready to answer the question. So let's keep our good habit going and underline the question. For what distance would the cost of transporting the produce be the same for both companies? And what is that equal cost? From this language, it has to scream to us y equals mx plus b system. We're comparing two companies. We're finding when their costs are equal. So if this question had appeared at the end of a situation, we would have underlined it up here, and then we would be like, let's get our system. Let's get our y equals mx plus b going. We have our system. Let's use it. We want to know when will Peter's company equal Helen's. So we will set Peter's company, which is the cost is represented by this, equal to Helen. So 0.4x plus 68 equals 0.65x plus 23. Being able to set up this equation is a special case because this is a break-even system, just by how it's written, because they both say y equals y equals. This is the only time you can just directly set this up, one equal to the other. We're now ready to solve for x. To do that, I want to gather all of my x terms to one side and numbers to the other. So there are options. If my goal is x equals a number, I know that I don't want this 68 to be here, so we could subtract 68 first from both sides. Or I know on this side I just want numbers, so this 0.65x is no good. Could subtract that. You make a choice. Please pause the video here and solve for x. I choose to subtract 68 from both sides. If you moved the 0.65x first, don't worry. Just wait, we should get the same answer. So I subtract 68 from both sides. We get 0.4x equals 0.65x. And then 23 minus 68, I got a negative 45. I will then subtract 0.65x from both sides. And what does that get us? Oops. Just want to move the goal to the side. So when we do 0.4x minus 0.65x, we get negative 0.25x equal to negative 45. And at first, it might be alarming that this is negative. But when I do my division, I see that we will have a negative divided by a negative, so we're going to be okay. Dividing 45 by 0.25, x equals 180 miles. Notice when I mentioned that division, I didn't actually include the negatives in what I said because I had already mentally decided that negative divided by a negative is positive. So I know the distance. The distance is 180 miles. That part's done. But we still need to answer this question. What is that equal cost? To figure that out, we will plug in 180 into one of these equations. Because 180 miles is where their cost is the same, it does not matter which equation you choose. So you pick one and I'll pick one and we'll solve and we'll compare. Pause the video here, please. I choose the first one. So y equals 0.4x plus 68. 0.4 times that 180 we just found for x. Plus 68. 0.4 times 180 is 72. Plus 68 equals 140. And I know that it's money because when I look at my y, my definition of y, it's total cost, which is money. So to answer this in a complete sentence, we can actually take the question and use it as a sentence. So for what distance would the cost be the same? The cost is the same for 180 miles it would be $180 for that number of miles. There are many, many ways to write that sentence, as long as in some way, shape, or form you're saying that the equal distance is 180 miles for when it'll cost the same, and that cost is $180, that works. We now have some follow-up questions. Let's see what it says. D asks, which company charges a lower fee for a 160-mile trip? As soon as I see that I'm given a value, I'm going to circle it. And I'm going to ask myself, is this a value for X or for Y? And this is where defining the variables correctly really matters. Because if I've defined them correctly, I should be able to just come right up here and figure that out. So this is miles. I look, which of these is miles? X. X is number of miles, so we have a value for X. So one at a time, we will plug into our equations to figure that out. We're going to do math for Peter's company, and we are going to do math for Helen's company. Peter, we have an equation, y equals 0.4x plus 68. Let's use it. So this will be y equals 0.4 times 160 plus 68. 0.4 times 160, I get 64. Try it on your calculator. Bring down the plus 68. 64 plus 68 is 132. So for 160 miles, Peter would cost this much. Let's figure out Helen. Helen, y equals 0.65 times 160 plus 68. 0.65 times 160 is 104 plus 6. Oops, I made a mistake. This is not plus 68. 0.65x plus 23. There we go. Plus 23. Okay, so 104 plus 23 equals 127. So now we need to actually answer the question. Which company charges a lower fee for 160 miles? Helen's company is cheaper. Helen is the answer. Helen's is cheaper for 160 miles. And if she's cheaper for 160 miles, we can actually extend this to be and for any distance less than 180 miles. 180 is when they are even. So less than that value, one is better. And more than that number of miles, the other is better. 160 miles is a random value less than 180. Helen came out to be the better choice for that number of miles. If Helen's company is cheaper for 160 miles, her company will be cheaper for any value of miles less than 180. Let's look at part E. Which company will move a greater distance for $200? Same question. Is this a value for X or for Y? Let's see. Y is defined as money. This is money. Value for Y. So one at a time, we will use our equations to figure this out. First for Peter, and then for Helen. But this time, we have a value for Y. So that'll be 200 equals 0.4x plus 68. And now we actually need to solve for x. We will subtract 68 from both sides. $200 minus 68 is 132 equals 0.4x. Divide by 0.4. Divide by 0.4. I got x equals 330 miles. Now let's work on calculating for Helen's company. So again, that will be 200 equals, this time, 0.65 x plus 23. Go ahead and pause. Finish solving for x, please. I'll subtract 23 from both sides. $200 minus 23 is 177 equals 0.65x, because that's gone. To finish this up, we'll divide both sides by 0.65. 177 divided by 0.65. I got x equals 272 miles. So let's answer the question. Which company will move a greater distance for $200? Peter's company. It says Peter's. Let me fix that. Peter's company will move a greater distance for $200. Notice I literally took the question and just used it to build my answer. It's a good strategy. Question F, is really the whole point of today's notes. Which company would be better? Which company would provide the better deal? To be able to make that decision, we first need to know when they're equal. So companies cost the same at 180 miles. Once we know when they're the same, now we know how we can approach figuring out which is better, because less than 180, one of the companies is better, and more than 180, one is better. So how to do this? Choose an x value more or less than the break-even point when they're equal. So in this case, our break-even point is 180. Sub in, get two answers, and give advice. I'm going to write that over here. Oops. Get two answers and give advice. So for example, we actually already did this for this one because we had this question right here. Which company charges a lower fee for 160 miles? 160 miles is less than 180. For less than 180, Helen is cheaper. So we actually already did the work. And if we can see that, we're actually done, because we're going to say, based on part D, so you're referencing all the work you did in D, where we substituted in 160, found Peter's cost, substitute 160, found Helen's cost. Based on part D, Helen's company is the better choice for any distance less than 180 miles. Pause here if you need to catch up with writing. We're going to move on to number 2. The best way to get good at this is to practice. So let's look at our next example. Sergeant Major Carter decided to open a JROTC uniform cleaning service at West Point High School. When he started the business, he had to purchase an ironing board for $15 and an iron for $35. Also, he figured it would cost $1.25 in cleaning products for each uniform. So he decided he was going to charge $3.25 for cleaning and pressing one entire uniform. Define variables. Notice I didn't pull out my highlighters yet because I didn't see any clear comparing two companies, comparing two people, nothing like that. What we have here is a cost versus profit. Y equals mx plus b system. The reason I know that is because we're talking about someone setting up a business where they know what their cost is to them to start the business and to run it, but then also what do they plan on selling for profit? What are they going to charge people? So with that in mind, we will have one color for cost and another color for profit. So now let's read again. Let's read first for cost. When he started the business, he had to purchase, so this is something he had to buy, an ironing board for $15 and an iron for $35. We are going to add those two values together. $15 plus $35 is $50. So those are his first time, only buy it once products for his business, which will be our B value, our initial value of $50. And then he needs materials or solutions to clean these uniforms, right? He figured it would cost $1.25 in cleaning products for each uniform. Right there, I know how I'm going to define X. Each uniform, which means X will be number of uniforms. Y is going to be total money. I didn't specify total cost or total profit because money is going to be a total for cost and profit, so we'll just keep it general, total money. We have our variables. We are now ready to write our cost equation. The cost equation will be Y equals, what does it cost him per uniform? Per uniform, it's $1.25 per uniform. So $1.25 X plus that $50 he had to spend once. He only needs to buy the ironing board and the iron once. So that's his initial cost, plus the rate for what it cost him for the supplies. So $1.25 per uniform, $50 initial supplies. Now let's read and find information about profit. Switch colors here. He decided he was going to charge $3.25 for cleaning and pressing one entire uniform. So profit he's charging $3.25 per uniform. We now have our system, our cost profit system. So we're going to find out how many uniforms does the sergeant, let's underline, how many uniforms does the sergeant major have to clean in order to break even? To figure that out, we will set cost equal to profit. When a business breaks even, it means when does cost equal profit? They'll have broken even. They'll have made just enough money to cover their costs. Let's find out. We will set cost equal to profit and solve. Remember, we have a goal of gathering all of our X terms to one side and numbers to the other. Out of habit, we traditionally gather X to the left side, but when I look, notice this 3.25X on the right. X is already almost by itself on this side. So we'll choose to actually subtract $1.25X from both sides. That gets us 50 equals 3.25 minus 1.25 is 2X. Dividing both sides by 2, X equals 50 divided by 2, 25. And then what does 25 represent? Let's come back up here and look. X is number of uniforms. 25 uniforms. Using the sentence to write our answer, he has to clean 25 uniforms to break even. Next is question D. It says, if the sergeant major cleans fewer uniforms than what you determined in C, what does it mean? So in C, we calculated 25 uniforms to break even. Common sense logic, we can actually reason on an answer, and then we'll use math to back it up. If he cleans less than 25, he will be in debt. Which, in other words, means his cost is more than his profit. So he's making money, but he hasn't actually made enough to cover his initial cost. Let's see if we can prove that. So let's pick a nice number for less than 25. Let's assume 10 uniforms. And you can pick anything less than 25. I'm using 10 because it's a nice number to work with. So we're going to do work for cost and then work for profit to see what his cost will be and what his profit will be. So my cost equation was y equals 1.25, and we're going to multiply 10, because 10 is now x, plus 50. Let's figure out that. 1.25 times 10 in your calculators, or move the decimal point, is 12.5, plus 50, $62.50. So that is how much it costs him to clean that many uniforms. His profit, y equals 3.25 times 10. Again, use your calculator or move the decimal point, 32.50. So he's made this much technically, but he has definitely not at least made back what it's costing him. We could say he's in the red and then in your calculator, 62.50 minus 32.50 he's at minus 30 right now. He still has to make $30 more to at least make enough to cover what it's costing him. E asks us, when will the sergeant make a profit? Again, to know that, you first have to know when does he break even. So he breaks even at 25 uniforms. So he will make a profit when he cleans 26 or more uniforms. And again, we can do the math to prove that. We're going to calculate cost and profit again, but this time, let's see what will happen when we assume 26 uniforms. So instead of plugging in 10, we'll plug in 26. Go ahead and pause right here and calculate cost and profit for 26 uniforms. Cost will be y equals 1.25 times 26 plus 50. 1.26 times 26, $32.50 plus 50 is $82.50. That's what I got. Profit, y equals 3.25 times 26. And we get $84.50. So we see here with the 26th uniform, this is how much he made. These are his expenses. He has made a profit of $2. So as of the 26th uniform, he's now in the green. One more example to round out the notes. Number 3, Best Buy versus PC Richards. Now at this point, a lot of this process will be on us, because if you notice all of this blank space. So we're going to use our knowledge of what we've done in 1 and 2 to help us start to finish. Jocelyn works as a salesperson for Best Buy. She earns $1,000 a month plus 15% commission on her sales. PC Richards & Son, another company, has offered Jocelyn a job that will pay her $500 a month plus 20% commission on her sales. The benefits and working conditions are equally good at both companies. Here's the question. Explain why Jocelyn should or should not accept the job at PC Richards & Sons. So we are clearly going to be comparing. So right away I know y equals mx plus b system. And we're comparing 2 companies. We've got Best Buy and PC Richards. First, let's see if we can define variables. Now, as soon as I have a y equals mx plus b system, I know that I want to look for per, each, and every, but nothing here really jumps out as per, each, or every yet. I know that it says a month, $500 a month, plus 20% commission on sales. Be careful with just grabbing this word month, because the total will be total income per month. So months is not X. Reason on what it means to work at a place like this. When you work at a place that earns commission in general, your income equals your base salary. If we're talking a monthly salary, your salary for the month, a yearly salary, salary for the year, plus some percentage of your sales, some percentage. So the percent times sales. So basically you're saying percent per sales. That's what this means. That makes sales our X value. So X is going to be sales. And both of these are measured in money. So that's why it's very important we're very specific. We've got Best Buy and we have PC Richards. So let's write that down. Best Buy and PC Richards. We're looking for y equals mx plus b for both. To help us organize, color always helps. So I'm going to make Best Buy yellow. Let's go look and see what we know about Best Buy. She is working for Best Buy. There, she earns $1,000 a month plus 15% commission on her sales. So the 1,000 a month is her base for the month, one time. So that's 1,000 plus 0.15 x. She earns 1,000 flat for the month plus 15% of her sales. So we'll multiply by whatever those sales are to figure out what she would actually earn in commission. PC Richards, let's put that in blue. PC Richards has offered her a job. It will pay her $500 a month plus 20% commission on her sales. So that will be Y equals 500 plus 0.20, 20% of whatever her sales are, 0.20x. Ultimately, we're trying to give her advice on which job to take. But to be able to give her that advice, we first have to know when would she make the same amount of money at each place. To do that, we are going to set Best Buy equal to PC Richards. So we're going to set 1,000 plus 0.15x, that represents what she would make at Best Buy, equal to 500 plus 0.20x. Remember, this is a special case. It is a break even, y equals is the only time we can jump straight to setting up one equal to the other. Pause right here, please, and solve for x. Remember that ultimately our goal is to get x equals a number. So we want to gather all of our x terms to one side, numbers to the other. You have choices. Maybe you chose to subtract 1,000 from both sides first, or maybe you subtracted 0.20x from both sides. Either way, we should get the same answer. I choose to move the 1,000 first, so I subtract 1,000 from both sides. Then I subtract 0.20x from both sides. .15x minus 0.20x gets me negative 0.05x equals, this is gone, bring down the negative 500. Again, it could be alarming that I got a negative answer here on the left, but if I look ahead a little bit, when I divide both sides by negative 0.05, this will ultimately be a negative divided by a negative is positive. Knowing that, I don't have to worry about putting negatives into the calculator. We can just use the calculator to actually do the division part. So in your calculators, divide 500 divided by 0.05, and we should get 10,000. Now, before we move on, let's reason on what this means. X is defined as her sales. So, if she sells $10,000 worth of merchandise in a month, because this is based on the monthly income. So if she sells $10,000 worth of merchandise in a month, she will earn the same at both places. So we have found the sales amount, how much she has to sell to make the same amount at each place. Now that we know how much sales she needs to have in a month, that it doesn't matter where she works, we can now choose a sales amount less or more than this to be able to give her advice. So let's say she has only been working at Best Buy, or not Best Buy, what's the company she's working at? Yeah, Best Buy. Let's say she's only been working at Best Buy for a year and she's like, I can't sell this much. Assume something less than 10,000. Let's say she thinks she can only sell $5,000 sales in a month. Let's help her out to figure out if she's only able to sell 5,000, where should she work? So Best Buy. And then we'll do PC Richards after that, one at a time. So we're going to come up here and use the equation for Best Buy. 1,000 plus 0.15x becomes y equals 1,000 plus 0.15 times 5,000. So that's 1,000, what she makes just in the month, flat. 15% commission on the 5,000. Do 0.15 times 5,000, and we get $750 in commission, which means her total income for the month would be $1,750. Now let's assume the same amount of sales and see what PC Richards would pay her. So that would be y equals, let's go up and use our PC Richards equation, 500 plus 0.20, 20% commission on the $5,000 is 500 plus 0.20 times 5,000 is $1,000. So she'd make 1,000 for her commission, which is 1,500. So should she take the job at PC Richards? No. If she makes less than 10,000 in sales, she definitely wants to keep her job because this is definitely more money than the 1,500. Now, what that also means is that if Best Buy is the better choice less than 10,000, so let's get that down first. Advice. If you sell less than 10,000 in sales per month, stay at Best Buy. She's making more there. Stay at Best Buy. The flip side of that, literally, if you sell more, like, so let's say she doesn't sell less than 10,000. Let's say she's a rock star associate and she sells $20,000, $30,000 worth of merchandise a month. So if you sell more than 10,000 in sales per month, take the job at PC Richards. This result that we're writing right now would have come out immediately. So let's say we picked something bigger than 10,000, maybe 20,000, then PC Richards would have come out as greater than Best Buy. When you're doing this on your own, I don't need you to give me both. So like based on our work, I would expect to just see this as the advice. But for the purpose of the notes, I wanted us to discuss what would have happened would have had this result for any sales amount greater than 10,000. Okay? Great job. So the notes is done, is complete. The notes section is done. And we're pretty much right on time, 50 minutes. Class is usually 46. If this is the first night of the assignment, I would ask that you stop watching the video right now and you genuinely on your own give the homework a shot. The one thing I will help you with, if this is day one of this assignment for you, is just making sure you're good with setting up this system, okay? So I'll read it with you. We'll talk about how to define everything, and then I'll ask you to stop. Jonas needs a cell phone. He has a choice between two companies with the following monthly billing policies. Each company's monthly billing policy has an initial operating fee and charge per minute. So here are the two companies, Terry and Carrie, Terry's telephone and Carrie's connection. We have an operating fee and a charge per minute. And in class, when I watch people work on this, I notice that they jump to saying this is Y and this is X. But be careful with that, okay? I see per minute. So I know that X will be number of minutes. So let's get that down first. X equals number of minutes. Y is not the operating fee. This fee is a one-time fee that you pay as part of your bill. Y will be total cost of the whole bill, not just the part of it, so total cost. To set up our system, write a system of equations to model, we're going to have one equation for Terry and one for Carrie. We are looking for a y equals mx plus b system because I clearly have an initial cost and a rate. So for Terry, how much is it per minute? Well, for Terry, per minute is 0.14, so that will be 0.14x, 14 cents per minute, plus a flat rate operating fee of $29.95. And then for Carrie, it will be y equals how much per minute? 39 cents per minute, plus a one-time operating fee of $4.95. So stop the video here if it's day one and continue working on these practice questions on your own. My day two people, meaning it's classwork has already happened for us in class and maybe you're using this to wrap it up and check answers. Let's keep going. Part C says, at how many minutes is the monthly cost the same? So as soon as I figure out when they're the same, I know I will set Terry's equation equal to Carrie's equation and solve. That will look like 0.14x plus 29.95 set equal to 0.39x plus 4.95. Don't drop your decimal places, your just decimal points. Line down the equal sign and solve. Remember that we have a goal of x equals a number. Go ahead and pause if you haven't already solved this and do it yourself. I will subtract 29.25 from both sides. Oops. So now this is gone, and I have 0.14x equals 0.39x. Here I have 4.95 minus 29.25 in our calculator. Let's see, 4.95 minus 29.25. We get a negative 24.3. Now we will subtract 0.39 from both sides. 0.39x, don't drop x, 0.39x. I'm going to move our goal out of the way. So we get, let's see, 0.14 minus 0.39 negative 0.25x equals negative 24.3 still on the right side. Now to finish this up, we will divide both sides by negative 0.25, divide by negative 0.25. I mentally know negative divided by negative is a positive, so in my calculator, I'm just going to do the division 24.3 divided by 0.25. And I got 97.2. So now let's actually see what our answer means. We defined X to be minutes. We were asked at how many minutes is the monthly cost the same? And I'm wondering if I made a mistake, because I just looked at what I had gotten before and it wasn't 97.2. So 29, 25, oops, I see what I did. Do you guys see what I did? This is not 25, it's 95. So let's fix that. 29.95, sorry about that. 29.95, 95. So 495 minus 29.95. Let's try that again. That's a minus 25. And this is going to change right here. And this will change. So negative 25 is right here. Divide by negative 0.25. Let's try that again. 25 divided by 0.25, 100. There we go. If we want to fit in a label, why not? Okay, let's try this. X equals 100 what? Well, if we go up, X is minutes. So X equals 100 minutes. Let's see if we're done. We answered at how many minutes, but then notice we have a second part to the question. I should have underlined this whole question. So we answered this question. When are they the same? At how many minutes? Now, what is the equal monthly cost? So we need to plug in 100 into one of these. Doesn't matter which one. So y equals 0.14x plus 29.95 becomes 0.14 times 100 plus 29.95. 0.14 times 100 is 14 plus 29.25 equals $43.25. Unless it says explain your answer in a sentence, I'm totally okay with you just saying 100 minutes, get a label there, and $43, the dollar sign, and 25 cents, because that clearly tells me you understand what your answer means. So it doesn't matter whose plan you choose if you talk for 100 minutes, because the cost is the same for both plans. Starting with question D, we have some follow-up questions. Which plan costs more if 150 minutes worth of calls is made? Ask yourself, is minutes a value for X or for Y? Well, when I go look and see how my variables are defined, X is minutes. So this is a value for X. We have two pieces of work to do. We're going to do one for Terry. So let's start with Terry. Terry's equation is y equals .14. Now X I know will be 150 because it's a value for X. So 0.14 times 150 plus 29.95. And it does it's a good moment to double check that you pulled the right equation. A couple times if I'm rushing, I tend to pull these random numbers. I don't even know where they come from by accident. So if sometimes I do that, it could happen to you too. So just now I did a mental check. 0.14x plus 29.95. 0.14x plus 29.95. Okay, I'm good. So now we do 0.14 times 150 and get 21 plus 29.95 is $50 and 95 cents. So we know for 150 minutes, Terry's plan will cost you this much money. Let's now figure out Carrie. What Carrie's company will charge you. Y equals, I scroll up and I look, 0.39 times our input of 150 minutes plus 4.95. And again, mental check. 0.39x 150 plus 4.95, we're good. So now we're going to do 0.39 times 150 and get 58.5 plus 4.95 is 63.45. $63.45. So which plan costs more? Carrie's plan. Do something to tell me you realize that this is the answer. Like if you've boxed both, put this in a second box or write this quick little sentence. That way I know you understand what your math means relative to the question being asked. Part E asks you, which plan provides more minutes for $60? So circle what it's asking, the $60 here, and say, is this a value for X or for Y? When I look at how we defined our variables, Y is the total cost, and this is the total cost. So we have a value for Y. So now instead of plugging in for X, we're plugging in for Y. What will that look like? Well, let's write Terry in a box. Same equation, but instead of having something for X, we have something for Y, which will look like 200 equals 0.14x plus 29.95, and we need to solve for X. To do that, we need to subtract 29.95 from both sides. Draw my line all the way across. Neatness is key. 200 minus 29.95 is 170.05. I still have 0.14x over here. This is gone. And to wrap it up, we will divide by 0.14. Divide by 0.14. 170.05 divided by 0.14 is something crazy. Don't know why I put 200 here. This is supposed to be 60. Sorry guys, Miss J is tired. 60 equals, so let's try that again. 60 minus 29.95, that's 30.05. Okay, let's try that. Divided by 0.14, and that answer makes a little bit more sense. X equals I get a decimal, but that's okay. 214.64. We'll round that to approximately 215 minutes. Now for Carrie's company, it will be 60 equals 0.39 x plus 495. And now we're going to solve. We'll subtract 4.95 from both sides. So 60 minus 4.95 gets us 55.05 equals 0.39x. We'll divide both sides by 0.39. See what we get. 55.05 divided by 0.39 equals 141.15. So that's approximately 141 minutes. So if you have $60 in your budget, which one of these plans should you choose? Terry. And again, a nice little sentence, either double box this or say real quick, Terry's plan provides more minutes for $60. Which plan is the better buy? Whenever you have these follow-up questions, it would be really nice if we can see, did we already do the work to support whatever answer we say? Again, focus on when are they the same. Plans are the same for how many minutes? What was our break-even value? If I go back up and look, how many minutes are they the same? 100. So plans are the same at 100 minutes. So to give advice, we need to either substitute in a value more than 100 minutes or less than 100 minutes to give advice. Did we already do that? Yes, we did. In part D, it said which plan costs more if 150 minutes are made each month. 150 is bigger than 100. When we plugged in 150, Carrie came out the better, or no, sorry, Carrie was more expensive, cost more. So you would not recommend who costs more, you would recommend who costs less. So more advice. More than 100 minutes choose Terry. And we were able to figure that out because in D, like I said, we plugged in something more than 100, and Carrie's plan came out more expensive. So if more than 100 minutes, choose Terry. That means less than 100 minutes, choose Carrie. And when in doubt, if we're not good with the reasoning side of this, just choose a value. So for example, proof. Let's assume, do you want to assume something bigger or smaller than 100? about let's go bigger. So let's assume 200 minutes. Remember, they're even at 100. Let's assume 200 minutes. And then we'll do the math. Carry. We'll do it one at a time. So Terry would be y equals 0.14 times 200 minutes plus $29.95. Let's see what the bill will be. So 0.14 times 200 equals 28 plus $29.95. The bill would be $57.95. For Carrie, it would be 0.39 times 200 plus $4.95. Let's figure out what that is. 0.39 times 200 is 78 plus $4.95. What did you get? I got $82.95. Big difference. So more than 100. Look how much cheaper Terry's bill is. So here's the proof behind this idea of choose Terry. Right? So here's my advice, and here was my proof. If I choose any value bigger than 100, Terry's plan will always come out cheaper. On the flip side, if you chose something less than 100, like 20, 30, 40, 50, Carrie would have come out cheaper. Fantastic. Moving on. Movies R Us has 2 video rental plans. The regular video rental plan charges $3.25 for each video rental. The preferred video rental plan has an $8.75 membership fee and charges $2 for each video rental. Blast from the past. I don't even think Blockbuster is still open. Okay, focusing on the question at hand, let's define variables. X equals, Y equals. We're going to look for per, each, or every. I see it says $3.25 for each video. So that tells me X will be number of videos. Once you know the number of videos you're renting, you know the total cost of your plan. What are we comparing here? Reading it through again, I see mention of 2 different plans. I see mention of the regular plan and preferred plan. What do we know about regular? Let's get our highlighters going. So regular for me is going to be yellow. Regular video rental charges $3.25 for each video. That's all I've got for that plan. So that will be Y equals $3.25 per video, so $3.25x. Preferred is going to be blue for me. Preferred video, $8.75 membership fee and $2 for each video rental. All right, let's talk preferred. So preferred will be Y equals. Be careful with what you say is the rate, okay? Reason, this $8.75 membership fee, you only pay this once. It's no different than all of the Cardio Express commercials that you hear on the radio. Hey, monthly special, $10 to sign up. You only sign up once. You just pay that $10 one time, and then there's a monthly fee. Same idea. you're going to pay a one-time fee of $8.75 plus how much per movie? $2 per video rental. We've got our system. We're ready to solve. How many video rentals give the two plans the same cost? That's a horrible straight line. There's two parts to this question. So how many video rentals give the same cost? And then what is the equal cost? So let's first figure out when they're the same. We will set one equal to the other. 3.25x equals 8.75x. See? Going too fast. 8.75 plus 2x. We have a goal of gathering all of the x's to one side. To solve, pause if you have not solved it, finish, and then compare with me. Subtract 2x, subtract 2x. 3.25x minus 2x gets me 1.25x equals 8.75. This is gone. To wrap this up, we will divide both sides by 1.25. 8.75 divided by 1.25, I get 7. Did you get 7? I hope you got 7. X equals 7 what? Come back up here. X is videos. You just found X. X equals 7 videos. So when you rent 7 videos, the cost is the same. And if this is all it had asked us, we'd be done. But we had a second part to the question. It asked, what is that equal cost? So it doesn't matter which one we pick. I choose to use the first one because I'll be done in one step, but maybe you choose a different one. Plugging in 7 for X, 325 times 7 is $22. $22.75. It didn't ask for a complete sentence, so I'd be fine with this. If it did ask you for a complete sentence answer, 7 video rentals is when the two plans cost the same amount or cost the same. The equal cost is $22.75. Again, many ways to write the same thing. As long as it's a complete sentence and you're saying somewhere that 7 video rentals is when it's the same and the cost would be $22.75, you're in good shape. Follow-up questions. Which video plan costs more for 18 video rentals? 18 videos is a value for, look at your variables, videos is X, so value for X. We've got regular. Let's do regular first. Keep my equations in sight here. So for regular, that would be y equals 3.25 times 18. 3.25 times 18 is 58.50. Preferred would be y equals 8.75 plus 2 times 18. That's 875 plus 2 times 18 is 36. Adding the 875 membership fee, 44.75. Which one is better? Which video plan? Oh, that's not what it asked. Oops, back up. Which video plan costs more for 18 videos? Regular costs more. So the answer to this question is the regular plan costs more for 18 rentals, 18 video rentals. Question E, which plan provides more videos for 30 bucks? $30 value for Y. One at a time, regular first here. We now have a value for Y. So 30 equals 3.25x. We're going to solve for the number of videos. Divide both sides by 325. I got x equals 9.23, which is approximately 9. Which makes sense we'd get a decimal, right? Because you bring in $30 in cash, it doesn't mean that your cost of renting will be exactly 30. So you can rent 9 videos and you'll have some change left over. Preferred will be 30 equals 8.75 plus 2x. Before we do any kind of division, we can subtract 875 from both sides. $30 minus 8.75, $21.25 equals 2x. Now we can divide by 2. 21.25 divided by 2 is 10.625. X equals 10.63, which is approximately 10 videos. Notice that I did not round up. There is a reason. You can't rent 0.63 of a video, and if you don't have enough for the 11th movie rental, the business won't say, oh, okay, yeah, we'll cover the rest of the cost. So when you're talking about renting or paying for something, just because it's higher than 0.5 doesn't matter. You have to round down because no business gives away something for free. So which plan provides more videos for 30 bucks? The preferred plan. Here, I can rent 10. There, with the regular plan, I can only rent 9. So, preferred plan. Did I spell that right? I think there's 2 R's. Is there? Yes. Preferred with 2 R's. Preferred plan gets you more videos for $30. Which is the better deal? Again, we have these awesome follow-up questions, so maybe we can use our work in previous questions to get the answer for this one. Pay attention first to when are they the same. Plans cost the same for 7 videos. So logic first, right? If they're the same at 7, it kind of makes sense that on the 8th rental, you would start saving money. So did we do some work where you rented more than 7 and saw the results? Part D asked information when you rent 18 videos. When you rent 18 videos, on the regular plan, it costs you $58.50. On the preferred plan, $44.75. So we can reference this work. The work in Part D shows that if you know you'll rent more than 7 videos, the preferred plan is cheaper. This is a solid answer. I would be totally okay with this because you're referencing work that you already did here. If you are still a little leery about this reasoning here, go ahead and work out some proof. Give some evidence. Assume a value bigger or smaller than 7, and you're more than welcome to go about it that way. Number 3. For an original graphic design, Lee charges a fixed fee of $50 plus $25 for each hour that he works. His main competitor charges a fixed fee of $40 plus $30 for each hour that he works on a design. Lee's competitor advertises that, I think that's supposed to say his rates are cheaper. Is Lee's competitor correct? It's an interesting question. So Lee's competitor advertises that his rates are cheaper. Is Lee's competitor correct? We know that we're comparing two people, so it will be a y equals mx plus b system. Okay. Let's first define variables. X equals, Y equals. We'll look for per, each, or every. Fixed fee of $50 each hour. So X is number of hours. Then I ask myself, what total is involved here? Total cost. What they charge the customer. We are comparing Lee and I should write it out. Lee versus competitor. What do we know about Lee? I'm going to make Lee yellow. Okay. Lee charges a fixed fee of $50 plus $25 per hour. That would be Y equals $50 flat plus 25x. The competitor, main competitor, charges a fixed fee of $40 plus $30 per hour. That would be Y equals $40 flat plus $30 per hour. We have our system. One is saying they're better than the other. So let's first see when are they equal. Set them equal. 50 plus 25x equals 40 plus 30x. Line down the equal sign and solve. If you haven't done it, pause. I choose to subtract 50 from both sides first. $25x equals negative 10 plus 30x. Subtract 30x from both sides. get negative 5x equals negative 10. This is gone. Last step, divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5. Negative divided by negative is positive. X equals 2. 2 what? Well, I come back up here. We defined x to be hours. So at 2 hours, they are the same. So it doesn't matter. If you know you have 2 hours worth of work you want to hire them for, you get to choose whose website you like better. A friend told you this one is nicer. I don't know. 2 hours are the same. Doesn't matter who you pick. What if you need more than 2 hours worth of work done? Let's assume $10 hours of work. No, we'll just say 10 hours. 10 hours of work. I don't want to squish it. What are we going to get? Let's see. Lee, y equals 50 plus 25 times 10. 50 plus 250, he'll cost $300 for 10 hours. And then we have the competitor, $40 plus 30 times 10. $340. So more than 2 hours, who should you pick? More than 2 hours, we will recommend Lee. Let's get a sentence. More than 2 hours, hire Lee. Here's our proof right here. It was possible to reason on the answer without the proof. When I look at their rates, Lee charges $25 per hour. The competitor is $30 per hour. Who has a cheaper rate? Cheaper rate. So we could have reasoned more than 2 hours, hire Lee, because he charges less per hour. And here's our proof. More than 2 hours. Here's an example of 10 hours. Lee is definitely cheaper. But less than 2 hours, who would then be? If Lee is cheaper more than 2 hours, the competitor, for less than 2 hours, hire the competitor. Okay, last one, number 4. Urban Outfitters makes a scarf that sells for $15. It costs $3 in labor to make the scarf. The total cost for materials is $500. How many scarves must they sell? Oh, there's my question. How many scarves must they sell to break even? What is the break-even amount? How many scarves do they need to sell to make a profit? 3-part question here. Let's first define variables, x equals y equals. Look for per, each, or every. Scarf sells for $15, $3 in labor to make a scarf. So we don't see per, each, or every, but we can reason that, in other words, $3 per scarf. They sell the scarves $15 per scarf. So X is number of scarves. Y is going to just be money, because when I read this, I clearly get the sense that this is a cost versus profit situation. I'm going to make cost yellow. Cost, $3 in labor to make a scarf, and the total cost for materials is $500. So my cost equation is $3 per scarf to make it plus $500 in materials. Profit, they're going to sell these scarves for $15 each. So that's Y equals 15X. To figure out how many scarves they need to sell to break even, we'll set these equal to each other. That's a 15. X is already almost by itself on the right side, so I choose to subtract 3X from both sides. And then we'll divide by 12. Divide by 12. Let's see. I got a decimal. Did you get a decimal? 41.6. What do we do with this decimal? We're talking about when they're going to make a profit. If they only sell 41, that's not enough. So in this case, we will round up to 42 scarves to break even. To figure out what that break even amount is, we can plug into either equation. So I'll plug into the second one just because it's a lot faster. So Y equals 15 times 42. 15 times 42 is 630. So 42 scarves to break even. The break even amount is $630. And then to make a profit, they need to sell more than 42 scarves. And we're done. Great job. Send any questions my way on Remind. Have a good rest of your day.